In the world of anime, only a few characters rise to a level where their presence alone creates tension, fear, and fascination. Among them, Kiyotaka and Johan Libert stand as two of the most extraordinary minds ever written. They represent two very different versions of intelligence, one shaped by extreme training and discipline, and the other shaped by trauma, chaos, and psychological darkness. When people imagine these two facing each other, the battle is not about fists or violence, but about who can break the other from the inside. It becomes a silent war of observation, manipulation, patience, and mental strength. Ayanokoji hides his true capabilities behind a calm expression, while Johan hides his entire darkness behind a gentle smile. And when two people who never reveal their real intentions meet, the air becomes heavy, the tension becomes suffocating, and the outcome becomes unpredictable. Ayanokoji grew up in the White Room, a place that stripped away everything human: no warmth, no affection, no normal childhood. His life was built on pressure, training, and perfection. Every second of his childhood was designed to turn him into a flawless strategist, someone who could calculate situations faster than normal humans could even understand them. He learned to stay emotionless, because emotions only slow down the decision-making process. He learned to observe quietly, because the loudest person is often the weakest. And he learned to act only when necessary, because unnecessary actions create unnecessary consequences. For Ayanokoji, people are not enemies or friends, they are variables. Variables that can be predicted, influenced, controlled, and if needed, removed. His intelligence is not loud or dramatic, it is quiet, deadly, and invisible until the final moment. He never aims for power or recognition. He simply acts when it becomes unavoidable. And by the time anyone realizes what he has done, it is already over. Johan Libert, on the other hand, is a completely different kind of genius. His intelligence was not trained, it evolved naturally from trauma, abandonment, and psychological suffering. Johan learned from a young age that people are fragile, emotionally unstable, and easy to break. But instead of feeling sympathy, he became fascinated by the darkness inside the human heart. He realized he could manipulate anyone simply by understanding their deepest fears and insecurities. He never forces people to act. He simply pushes them toward their own destruction. That is what makes Johan terrifying. He doesn't kill with his own hands. He makes people kill themselves, or each other, with just a few words. His voice, his expressions, his calmness, they all create a hypnotic effect. People trust him, fear him, obey him, or collapse in front of him without knowing why. Johan represents the darkest side of human psychology, where emptiness becomes a weapon and identity becomes meaningless. Now imagine these two meeting. Ayanokoji stands still, observing every tiny detail: Johan's breathing, eye movement, posture, tone. Ayanokoji tries to read Johan like he reads everyone else. But Johan is not like everyone else. His expressions are too controlled, too soft, too perfectly crafted. Johan looks at Ayanokoji and tries to find an emotional weakness, a hidden insecurity, a trauma that can be exploited, but he finds nothing. No fear, no desire for acceptance, no hunger for validation, just silence. For the first time, Johan faces someone whose mind cannot be softened or broken with words. And for the first time, Ayanokoji faces someone whose intentions cannot be predicted with logic alone. The air between them becomes sharp, as if two invisible forces are trying to enter each other's thoughts. Ayanokoji tries to understand Johan's motive, but Johan's motive is emptiness. He doesn't seek victory. He doesn't seek domination. He seeks nothingness, a world where meaning does not exist. This makes him harder to calculate. Meanwhile, Johan tries to create psychological pressure, speaking softly, creating scenarios that would normally break any human mind. But Ayanokoji doesn't react the way normal people do. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get confused. He simply listens, evaluates, and analyzes without emotional interference. Johan's biggest strength: manipulation fails against someone who has no emotional weaknesses, and Ayanokoji's biggest strength: predicting rational behavior, struggles against someone who acts with absolute unpredictability. The battle becomes a test of endurance. Who will make the first mistake? Ayanokoji watches Johan's patterns. He notices how Johan relies on the emotional instability of others. So Ayanokoji denies him that advantage by staying completely unreadable. Johan tries to create illusions and narratives to destabilize Ayanokoji, but Ayanokoji quietly dismantles them one by one inside his mind. Johan tries to build psychological traps, but Ayanokoji refuses to walk into any path he cannot control. And slowly, the balance shifts. Ayanokoji realizes something crucial: Johan is brilliant at breaking emotionally vulnerable minds, but he struggles against minds that refuse to respond. Ayanokoji's calmness becomes a shield, and Johan's charm becomes ineffective. In this silent war, Johan begins to lose control, not because Ayanokoji attacks him, but because his methods finally meet someone immune to his influence. Johan tries to push harder, but the harder he pushes, the more Ayanokoji understands him, and eventually, the calm boy from the White Room sees through Johan completely. He recognizes Johan's core weaknesses: philosophy of emptiness. Johan believes the world has no meaning, but Ayanokoji believes meaning is irrelevant to strategy. Johan uses emotions as weapons, but Ayanokoji has none to exploit. Johan manipulates people, but Ayanokoji is not a person who can be manipulated like the rest. In the end, the ultimate monster meets the ultimate strategist. If this battle ever truly happened, Ayanokoji would win, not because he is stronger, but because he is impossible to control. Johan's power depends on influencing the heart, but Ayanokoji's heart is unreachably silent. And once Johan realizes he cannot influence him, his entire psychological dominance collapses. Ayanokoji does not need to kill Johan. He simply needs to neutralize his influence. And that alone is enough to defeat him. And that brings us to the end of this intense psychological showdown. If you enjoyed this deep analysis and want more mind-bending comparisons like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you never miss another upload. Now, it's your turn to decide. Who do you think truly wins this battle of ultimate minds, Ayanokoji or Johann Libert? Tell me your answer in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Stay motivated, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video.